Today we're installing a Starlight headliner and doing Suede on my Lexus IS350. So one of the big things that I don't like about my IS350 is how the top is gray and the whole back of it, or the whole bottom, is black and this, brown. So this obviously doesn't match. So I'll be wrapping this in black Suede and then also putting stars in it with, Starlight kit. I'll be doing about 650 stars. And for right now, we're taking out the headliner. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is break the little cover right here. You're gonna wanna pop this little cover off. And then there's gonna be two. Once you take those out, you're gonna have to get this little clip over here, which literally, if you see I'm holding it right here, it's just twist. It's that easy. Just twist and pulls out. And the next thing you're gonna wanna do is basically pop this little cover off right here. This little cover comes off super duper easily. You just kind of pry it from the outside of the car. So you're gonna wanna stick a flathead up here, pry it out, and then just basically pop the tabs off the actual light and then tuck it up there. So now this portion of the headliner is done. So to get the middle section out, this is on a 2012. I'm not sure about the 06, but I believe it's the same. You're gonna wanna pop these little tabs off with a very small screwdriver, one like this. As you can see, it's very small. And after doing that, it'll expose these Phillips heads that you're gonna have to get out. So to get these little pieces off, you're gonna wanna get a flathead, a really small one, and pry this top piece off. You see how it's a different color? You wanna pry this top piece off, and it'll expose this metal clip. So if I can get a good view on it, it'll look like metal clips like that. You're gonna wanna press those together, so basically unclips from behind like that and pops it forward. So a little spot that you might forget are these coat hangers. And if you look back there, there's a Phillips head way deep right there. It's super easy to get. You just gotta remember it or else the headliner will not come down. So one of the hardest things to do getting out of this headliner is this rear little light. So one of the big things you don't wanna mess up are these little blue interior clips. So there's gonna be two there, and then the other side has these little tabs. So this, facing the back of the car, you're basically gonna wanna pry a screwdriver behind this and then use your fingers to yank it down as hard as you can, and hopefully you pop these clips out without breaking it. Another hard thing to do is the front light right here. So this is the 2012, but I believe the 06 is the same way. You flip it over on its back side, you're gonna see there's two clips. These aren't blue, but they're the same sort of clips. You see one there, one there. Also two tabs, and that's how it sits in the car. What you're gonna wanna do is basically stick your fingers on top and just yank as hard as you can and just pray you don't break anything. So to get the seatbelts off, you're gonna wanna pop the clip off down here, and then I believe that's a 12 mil. And now you're gonna also have to pop off this little black trim piece right here, and if you look behind it, it exposes these Phillips head. See, there's one right there, there's one on the other side. And that helps to get this piece off, because now the rest of the headliner is basically done. These little clips right here, you're gonna have to put pliers on it and twist it to the side to get it out of this little, I don't know what you wanna call it. Then it has the rest of those blue clips, but they're, obviously white. And then all of these just pop right out with a little tug, and the rest of it will shimmy right out. So this took a lot longer than expected. This literally took us probably an hour to get out, which was very annoying. What we had to do in the end was remove the passenger seat and get it out of the rear door, so the rear passenger door. And that was a total mess. We basically had to fold it kind of like a burrito, like a C, and kind of, squeeze it out. And so we laid out the Suede on top of the headliner, and now we're basically gonna glue this down with this headliner glue. And then we're gonna do it in half sections, and then after that we're gonna cut out the outsides and the middle. So now we're ready to spray our glue. This is the glue I'm using. It's this 3M headliner adhesion. I'm gonna do this in two halves, so basically one side, and then I'm gonna make sure this is all flat and then go on to the next. So we just sprayed all of our headliner glue on that side and this side. Make sure to get the corners over here and all these sides. You don't want to miss those. And now we're gonna wait about a minute for it to get tacky, and then we're gonna fold it over and make sure it sticks. Here is the second half. We already have glue on it, and we have glue on the actual headliner. And we used our old headliner fabric as kind of a protector so we don't get our table all dirty, because it's super sticky. And as you can see, we've almost gone through half of this bottle, or basically around half. And at the same time, half of my friend's bottle. So basically went through a bottle doing this. And here's what happens if you don't cover up your table. This is from the last time I did stars. As you can see, it's basically stuck there forever. That's not coming off. So here it is, basically dried. I'm gonna have to cut out now the middle section over here, which I've already started, and then also some of these bigger sections like that. Here's your wiring harness. You don't want to lose this, but you're probably going to have to remove this. I'm going to, just to be a little safe and make it a little easier, especially around this area. Here we are. I've cut out the rough outline, I guess you could say, of the headliner. You can see little areas I have to cut and whatnot to make this fit perfect. This is a very rough outline. I've already started putting down and pinning down this middle section, and it's definitely pretty hard. You have to use your head. And these little cuts in the corners are definitely something to worry about, because you do not want to be able to see it basically right there. So that means that if you have the sunroof back or anything like that, you'll see the little corners exposed, which does not look good. because this is, I think, like a whitish yellowy material color. So the middle section, you can see where I have my stencil. I have this little triangle over here that I'm going to cut, then these little stencils along the side to hopefully fold this back perfectly. But if a little bit is showing, like right over here from the inside, it's not going to be the end of the world. You really won't be able to notice it. The only thing that will be really noticeable is if you have a big like gouge, like if you have a missing section over here or a really big cut in the corner, that'll be really noticeable. Another thing I've started to get down is also the corners. As you can see, this one came out pretty good. What you're going to want to do is take your time and make sure you make markers, or bring markers, so you could have little outlines like this, because this will help you a lot, especially because you could use these same techniques on the other corner. So here's basically the finished product. So right here, I know I don't have all the holes cut out yet. I'm going to be doing that probably the very last, because I can use some of these clips to basically stuff the suede into place, because in some spots it's not perfectly sat down. So basically, yes, I do need to glue this down a little better and cut this perfectly, but this is a rough outline, because you do not want your suede to touch this plastic, because this plastic little line right here to there, that's where the track runs. And if this touches the track, you're basically screwed, because it's just going to get stuck and the suede is going to start ripping. You also want to stop a little earlier in the back, and also not to put too much bulk in the front, because this would make it so much easier to reinstall, which is obviously kind of not really an issue, but it can be definitely difficult because you do have to curve this up. I will be letting this all sit overnight for at least 24 hours before I work on it again and begin poking holes. You don't want to begin poking holes immediately, because the suede hasn't dried all the way. And then poking 650 little holes in it, you could cause the suede to come up, which is the big issue. So here we go. I already put all the dots down, so I split it into two sections. So as you can see, I have 650 stars I'll throw on the kit right now that I got, and those 650 stars I split into 400 to the rear and 250 to the front. And you're going to want to mark it out and do all your planning, because if you don't, it's going to turn into a total mess. I split it up into 4 100 sections in the rear, just to make it easier on myself to count. So it's 100, 100, 100, 100, and they're basically pretty evenly spread out, that is, because I wanted there to be more in the back, just because you have this huge area of nothingness. The front, also, you have the sunroof, which is on the floor right now, but that I have 100 stars into, and then the rest of this front, so you see this front forward, I have about 75 on each side. So I have 150 in total in the front, excluding the sunroof. So as you can see here, I obviously put notes everywhere. 72, I have 40, 250 to the front, 400 to the back. All of that is super duper helpful in just making this process a lot easier. And don't forget, I made my lines with a black marker and I made my dots with a green, which obviously wasn't the best idea because you can't really tell the difference, especially on camera. But another thing you're going to want to keep is a white paint pen. So I'm just using this generic one. It really doesn't matter. But you're going to want to use it to make dots in the suede. So like I have a few little suede overlays here, and then also the sunroof, because the back of the sunroof is actually this material. So the green or even black marker won't show through. So we finished putting the holes in, and I'll show you the two tools that we use. So one is this marker with a nail taped to the top. Two are these locking pliers that we have a nail in the top of. Now these just make it so much easier than using traditional push pins, especially because you're doing suede. And as you can see, the suede is pretty thick. Here's a little piece of it. This plus the headliner is just way too thick for a push pin to get through. It will if you really force it to, but it's really a pain. So what I found works a lot better is using one of these vice grips. This is probably my favorite tool. And just simply pushing down on it with your other hand underneath, just pinching around the suede to make sure it pierces through and doesn't just push the suede. Right now, I'm just counting out the stars before we do it. This is a really good idea because you can keep yourself organized. So I'll throw on screen right now what my idea is. I basically want to run a bunch of lines down, I think it's the passenger side, and then have them basically branch out across the car, starting from the farthest all the way to the closest. And I'm going to be doing that by making sections first. So if you can see, it's a little bit of a mess, but if I just pick it up, it's, it all comes even out. But I have 4 100s for the rear, and then I have another 100 for the sunroof, and then I'm making 2 75 sections, which will be for each side of the front. And this basically just makes it so I'm not really guessing and kind of overlapping my strands, because if you see from the beginning, I already zip tie it and basically lodge it off, which makes it a lot easier. Everything laid out. So this is just kind of the gist of it. I have my little sketch that I made earlier, and I did kind of go off of it, but I also didn't want to overload this side with too much fiber, because then this side will not want to clip up properly. So I just go across here to to get to this section, and then I'm gonna have this crawl underneath to get here, and the same on for the rest of it. Is not to overload this middle area, because if you overload this middle area, the sunroof is gonna have a hard time moving back and forth without hitting stuff. And that brings me to the sunroof cluster, if you want to call it that. I have it right here. So I wrapped it in a lot of tape to make it almost a wire. I'm not done wrapping it, but basically you want this to be as solid as you can, so it just moves back and forth as a uniform wire instead of it getting caught in your stars that are going to be right here. Now, after I've made my own little sections over here, see how I have the double zip ties to differentiate from the 100 sections versus the 75 star sections. So my 275 sections, I wrapped one in black, one in white with, this is just normal duct tape. And I have the black going all the way around and then to this far corner. And then I have the white over here, which goes straight to here to this closer corner. And I did this so that these do not get covered or turn into a mess between all of this and this, because that, you have to remember, there's going to be 100 stars here and 100 stars here. That's 200 fibers this is going to have to run through. So just to make things a lot less difficult and a lot easier to manage, I've decided to wrap these, and it's just so easy. And then here, obviously, I zip tied them to make it even neater, and then I will be tucking this and putting it perfectly up against the side, having it go over there, and then finish it off. So here's how it's organized right now. I have the 275s going along the side, and I have this section done and the other front section done. Then I have this 100 section done right here, as you can see, and now this one's almost finished. I only have these two left, which are both 100 and 100, and then the sunroof, which is over there. So I'm done tucking all the wires, just about. I've not done the sunroof yet, but as you can see, the little section method, I guess that's what you want to call it, works perfectly. I'm not sure if this is already a thing or whatnot, but basically this is the best way to do it. There's a lot less hassle, and you can kind of do it just mindlessly. As you can see, I have a little sprout, and then it just kind of opens up. That one I messed up, but as you can see, this is very, very easy. And also, this box is surprisingly small, so mounting it is going to be very easy. I'd probably just mount it right here, but I do have to figure that out because the wire is going to have to come out the side. So here's day 2, basically finished. All I have to do left is glue it and then do my interior trim pieces, which are over there. You can see they're all basically gray and ready for new suede and obviously spray paint. So far this came out really well. Obviously I need to tape everything down and glue it and whatnot, but I'm very, very, very proud of the sunroof. So as you can see, this came out phenomenal. I do have a piece of tape here just to hold it down for the picture, but long story short, you can see this little wire that I basically made by taping up this section of the sunroof wire, you could say. This should work perfectly and have enough slack to move nice and evenly on the rack once I put this back on. So we just finished up gluing. You basically want to start from the farthest and make your way all the way up to the closest. And what you want to use is just any glue gun will work. I'm using random glue sticks. Anyways, so you want... No, I did not unplug it. You unplugged it. You want to have somebody helping you, as somebody will pull underneath the fibers to leave them nice and flat, and then somebody else will glue the top to make. While they're working on gluing it, I've been doing all these little interior pieces and wrapping them in black suede, which is definitely difficult. This is probably the hardest one I've done yet. I've not obviously been able to cut the hole yet because I'm gluing it. But as you can see, you want to do it in 2 sections. So I'm using the same headliner adhesive, and I ripped off the old fabric just to make it stick a little bit better, and now I've been doing it half and half, and then I'm going to cut the holes afterwards. So just finished gluing and clipping for the most part, and this is our first time turning it on. This is the twinkle effect, and this looks so good. So if you look underneath, we don't have it clipped all the way, but you can see we have little strands left just so it makes it easier to clip in the car. But oh my gosh, that looks insane.